The next question then is if we can talk about what makes us happy, then the question has to be what keeps us happy. And I think we already know that things like winning something, going out, it's all very transient. Yeah, it will kind of lift you for a while, but it won't actually keep you happy. Studies that Seligman conducted in this area, he took people who had something really fantastic or positive happen to them. And of course he would have measured their SWB before the event. And then, continue to measure it over a period of time. So if you take the group who had something fantastic happen to them, let's say somebody did win the lotto, in nearly all cases their subjective well-being raised considerably, as you would expect, with something fantastic happening to you. But what was interesting was that in nearly all cases, that within a period of 12 months, their SWB, or subjective well-being, was back to the norm. Also then, with people who had something traumatic happen to them, he did the same studies with them. And let's take, for instance, somebody had lost their limb in an accident or something like that. It's understandable that their subjective well-being would probably drop to the floor in those type of cases, in most of those type of cases. However, again, over a 12-month period, their SWBs would come back up to what they were normally at. I think that's interesting in relation to this whole idea of what would actually keep us happy. So back to the question then, what exactly is it that would keep us happy, that would keep us contented, and keep our subjective well-being high? And the answer is setting goals. So you set yourself some goals, you work towards those goals, you achieve those goals. Once you've actually achieved those goals, your level of happiness in relation to that particular goal will begin to wane. So the challenge would be to either set new goals, or at least add to the goals that you'd already set. Okay? And again, any of you that have looked at goal setting models, most of them would say that goals need to be achievable, they need to be realistic, and in my view it's always best if they're kept relatively simple. O'Flaherty, in his book on executive coaching, says that setting goals, it's not just a pencil scratching exercise, that the goals have to live in the very muscle and bone of the person. Can you understand what he's saying there? There has to be more than just a kind of a logical, cerebral element to the goal setting. There has to be something more in terms of you having a feeling or a set of feelings that compel you towards the goal. And they're not just a wish or desire. It's often the case with people, when they talk about goals, they'll talk about what they wish might happen. I wish I was fitter. I wish I could break with the habit of smoking, and so on. But a wish is not a goal as such. It has to be a commitment, something that you're committing to, that this is what I'm going to do. And sometimes actually writing them down can be advantageous, whereby it's like writing a contract with yourself that this is what you're going to do. And as I was saying earlier, it's really, really important that the goal that you're setting for yourself, that you make it compelling, that there is that emotional connect to the goal. If so, there's a far greater likelihood that you will actually achieve that goal. I was watching Tour de France there back last summer. Chris Froome, who was the eventual winner, and 2 days out from the end of the 3-week race, everybody had conceded that the race was won. I don't fully understand how they can be so confident, but barring a major accident, the race was won. Now what you have to remember that these people aren't just highly trained athletes, they're highly trained in how they manage the media as well. They get a lot of training in that, so that they endeavour to say the right things or the politically correct things in those situations. So 2 days out from the end of the event, he's being asked about the Tour de France, and he's talking about, you know, the importance of the team, and it's never over till it's over, and so on. And he's saying all the right things, but the interviewer asked him the question. He said, "Tell me, Chris, how will you feel when you've won this Tour de France, or if you win it?" His whole physiology changed. It was like changing, just like switching a button inside of somebody, and he was like a child at Christmas, because he couldn't contain his feelings towards his prize, his goal. And he let his guard down for a period of time. Now, I just put our friend up here, Homer Simpson, and certainly he looks compelled to achieving his goals. As you can see, he's drooling at the corner of his mouth at the prospect of achieving his goal. More is a pity that his goal is to drink as much Duff beer as he can get. Wouldn't recommend it. So if we're setting ourselves goals, and given that we can trip ourselves up along the way in relation to staying focused on those goals, it can be useful to review them on a regular basis, so that you would be asking yourself questions like, well, what's actually working? What's not working for you? What changes could you make to improve your chances of winning the goal? Am I on track? Am I still on track for what it is that I want to achieve? How will I feel when I've achieved that goal? And I think that's really, really important, that you make that emotional connect to what it is that you want to achieve. And do I need extra resources to achieve those goals? What else do I need to bring on board to achieve those goals? And what do I need to be doing to remain motivated? So motivation plays a huge part. Sometimes it can be useful to be looking backward, because we're compelled in both directions. We can be compelled towards something, but we can also be compelled away from something. And I can recall a conversation I had with Maurice Nelligan, the late Maurice Nelligan, who was a heart surgeon, and he was commenting on the high percentage of people that, you know, would have a life-threatening, life-challenging illness. You know, he would end up operating on them, and a fairly high percentage of them would leave the hospital, and if it was smoking or bad diet, would just stop completely engaging in the bad diet. And the reason being is that they would be looking backward, and they would be compelled away from ever wanting to find themselves in that situation again. And the added advantages that carried for them would be a longer, healthy, more fruitful existence.